In a world where crime can construct empires that outshine many legitimate businesses, tales of wealth amassed through drugs, violence, and corruption are legendary. Imagine a $30 billion cocaine empire, a private island serving as a drug trafficking hub, and the mind-boggling use of 2,500 tons of rubber bands a month just to hold the cash together. These are the stories of the top 10 richest gangsters of all time. Number 10. Frank Lucas, $52 million. Frank Lucas, whose life was depicted in the film American Gangster, lived a starkly contrasting reality to Hollywood's portrayal. His criminal empire, built on the heroin trade during the Vietnam War, left devastating consequences for countless communities in the United States. Born in LaGrange, North Carolina, in 1930, Lucas's early life was marked by violence and hardship. At just 15, he fled to New York after committing robbery and arson, settling in Harlem where he quickly adapted to the street life. Engaging in petty crimes, he worked his way up the criminal ladder, leveraging his business acumen to exploit the heroin market with unprecedented efficiency. By sourcing heroin directly from Southeast Asia at incredibly low costs, he undercut his competitors, flooding the streets with high-purity blue magic. His operation was run like a Fortune 500 company, employing family members and operating with ruthless efficiency. Lucas owned properties across the globe, including a 7,000-acre ranch in North Carolina and luxury apartments in Los Angeles and Detroit. At his peak, the DEA estimated his personal fortune at $52 million, with an additional $300 million in heroin inventory. However, the darker side of his empire was its impact on African American communities, causing widespread addiction and leading one prosecutor to accuse him of destroying more black lives than the Ku Klux Klan. Despite his wealth and influence, Lucas's criminal career unraveled in 1975 when law enforcement raided his New Jersey home, finding nearly $600,000 in cash. He cooperated with authorities, leading to a reduced prison sentence and entry into witness protection. Lucas's later life was marked by repeated arrests and a public attempt at redemption before his death in 2019, where he expressed regret for his actions and encouraged young people to focus on education. Number 9. Anthony Fat Tony Salerno, $600 million. Anthony Salerno, affectionately known as Fat Tony, was a quintessential figure in the American mafia, amassing an impressive $600 million fortune. Born in East Harlem in 1911, over loan sharking and numbers rackets generated tens of millions annually. Salerno's wealth was not just confined to street-level operations. He played a significant role in the construction industry, leveraging mafia influence over labor unions and securing lucrative contracts throughout New York City. His business dealings extended beyond crime, operating the Metro Urban Music Company, which controlled jukeboxes and gaming machines across the city. He was also known for his philanthropic gestures, particularly within Harlem, where he provided jobs and financial support to residents, gaining their loyalty and protection. Despite his nickname, which he initially disliked, Salerno was no $1 billion. Griselda Blanco, known as the Black Widow, wasn't just feared, she was legendary in the world of organized crime, infamous for her brutal tactics and pioneering methods in drug trafficking. Born in Colombia in 1943, Blanco's entry into crime came shockingly early. By the age of 11, she was already involved in violent criminal acts, allegedly killing a boy during a botched kidnapping. Her rise to power began in the 1970s when she moved to Miami and introduced innovative drug smuggling techniques. She recruited women to transport cocaine in specially designed underwear, an idea that demonstrated her creativity and boldness despite operating in a male-dominated industry. Blanco controlled a vast empire, trafficking 1.5 tons of cocaine into the United States every month at the height of her reign. Her methods weren't just clever, they were terrifying. She was known to kill on a whim, reportedly targeting individuals simply because she didn't like how they looked at her. Her violent streak extended to her personal life, where she ordered the murders of all 3 of her husbands, earning her the nickname Black Widow. In the early 1980s, her wealth and influence peaked, living like royalty with luxury homes and extravagant spending. Yet her ruthlessness also marked the beginning of her downfall as law enforcement agencies intensified their efforts. In 1985, Blanco was arrested and convicted of multiple crimes, including murder and drug trafficking. Her imprisonment was a turning point. Although she maintained control over her empire from behind bars, her dominance waned after her release and deportation to Colombia in 2004. Blanco lived quietly, at least by her standards, but her violent past caught up with her when she was assassinated in 2012 in a drive-by shooting eerily similar to the killings she orchestrated during her reign. Her story is a mix of ambition, ingenuity, and tragedy, ultimately ending with her demise in the very environment she once controlled. Number 7. Carlos Lehder. $2.7 billion. Carlos Lehder's story is as dramatic as a Hollywood thriller, blending audacity, betrayal, and larger-than-life ambitions. Born in Armenia, Colombia, in 1949, to a German engineer and a Colombian mother, his early criminal endeavors involved smuggling stolen vehicles into the United States. These ventures were small-scale compared to the empire he would later build. Lehder's path changed when he served time in prison, where he met George Jung, a drug trafficker who introduced him to the lucrative cocaine trade. Once released, Lehder turned his focus to smuggling cocaine into the U.S., quickly mastering the logistics. He bought Norman's Cay, a private island in the Bahamas, which he transformed into a drug trafficking hub, complete with airstrips and armed guards. The island became infamous for its wild parties and its role as a central transit point for the Medellin cartel, of which Lehder was a key member. His wealth was staggering. He bribed officials at every level, ensuring his operations ran smoothly. Lehder's lifestyle was equally excessive, athletic, and charismatic, living like a king on Norman's Cay, wielding power with a mix of charm and intimidation. However, Lehder's paranoia and violent tendencies made him a liability. His alliance with Pablo Escobar fractured when Lehder allegedly killed one of Escobar's men during a dispute, leading to his downfall in 1987. Lehder was captured and extradited to the United States, becoming the first Colombian drug lord to face trial in the U.S., with his conviction including a life sentence plus 135 years. His time in prison was harsh, but he managed to negotiate a reduced sentence by testifying against Panamanian dictator Manuel Noriega. After serving 33 years, he was released in 2020 and deported to Germany, where he now lives a quiet life. While his name is etched in the annals of drug trafficking history, his later years serve as a stark reminder of the high cost of a life of crime. Number 6. Amado Carrillo Fuentes. $25 billion. Amado Carrillo Fuentes, born on December 17, 1956 in Sinaloa, Mexico, was a notorious drug lord who led the Juarez cartel, earning the nickname El Señor de los Cielos, the Lord of the Skies, due to his innovative use of a fleet of over 30 private jets, including Boeing 727s, to transport large quantities of cocaine from Colombia to Mexico and into the United States. This method allowed him to move drugs more efficiently and securely than traditional land routes. Fuentes was introduced to the drug trade by his uncle, Ernesto Fonseca Carrillo, a leader in the Guadalajara cartel. Under his uncle's mentorship, Fuentes quickly rose through the ranks, eventually taking control of the Juarez cartel in 1993 after orchestrating the assassination of his then boss, Rafael Aguilar Guajardo. Under his leadership, the cartel became one of the most powerful in Mexico, with Fuentes amassing an estimated net worth of $25 billion at his peak. In addition to his aerial smuggling operations, Fuentes invested heavily in sophisticated surveillance technology to monitor both law enforcement and rival cartels, further solidifying his dominance in the drug trade. However, his vast wealth and power attracted significant attention from authorities. Facing increased pressure from both Mexican and U.S. law enforcement, Fuentes attempted to change his appearance through plastic surgery to escape capture. Tragically, he died on July 4, 1997, due to complications during the procedure. Following his death, the two surgeons who performed the operation were found dead, trapped in concrete-filled steel drums, highlighting the brutal nature of the drug world he inhabited. Fuentes' death led to a power vacuum within the Juarez cartel, resulting in violent conflicts as rivals sought to take control. Authorities seized approximately $10 billion from his bank accounts and confiscated 60 properties across Mexico, including a lavish estate known as the Palace of 1,000 Nights, renowned for its luxurious Arabic-inspired architecture. This mansion stands as a testament to his immense wealth and influence during his reign. Amado Carrillo Fuentes ruled the skies with his private fleet, but his legacy is one of both awe and terror. Number 5. Dawood Ibrahim, $6.7 billion. Dawood Ibrahim, often referred to as the kingpin of the Mumbai underworld, built an empire that extended far beyond the borders of India, with an estimated net worth of $6.7 billion. His criminal activities spanned drug trafficking, extortion, arms smuggling, and money laundering. Born in 1955 in Ratnagiri, Maharashtra, Ibrahim started as a small-time street criminal before founding the D Company, one of the most feared organized crime syndicates in the world. Under his leadership, the D Company became a multinational operation with ties to terrorist organizations and illegal trade networks across Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. Ibrahim's most infamous act was orchestrating the 1993 Bombay bombings, a series of coordinated attacks that killed 257 people and injured over 700, reportedly in retaliation for communal violence in Mumbai. This event solidified his status as one of India's most wanted men, with the government placing a $25 million bounty on his head. Despite his fame, Ibrahim has managed to evade capture for decades, rumored to be hiding in Pakistan under government protection. His exact whereabouts remain unknown, but he is believed to have connections with powerful figures worldwide, allowing him to continue his operations from the shadows. Ibrahim's influence isn't just limited to crime. His ties to Bollywood have been the subject of numerous books and films, with allegations that he funded movies and maintained relationships with high-profile celebrities. His story is a chilling reminder of how crime and power often intersect, blurring the lines between legality and corruption. Dawood Ibrahim built a billion-dollar empire of terror and drugs, showcasing the dark side of ambition and the complexity of criminal entrepreneurship. Number 4. Al Capone, $3.7 billion. Al Capone, often referred to as Scarface, wasn't just a crime boss. He was a master of excess by the time he was 26. Capone had taken full control of the outfit in Chicago, turning it into a massive criminal empire that dominated bootlegging during Prohibition. His businesses weren't limited to alcohol. He also profited heavily from gambling, prostitution, and even drug trafficking. To put his empire's wealth in perspective, the U.S. government estimated the outfit's annual income at $85 million, including $50 million from bootlegging alone. Despite these figures, Capone's personal fortune remains a mystery. His operation relied heavily on cash, making it nearly impossible to trace or verify his total earnings. Capone was a man who knew how to enjoy his wealth, living extravagantly, often staying in luxury hotel suites, driving custom-made cars, and owning a lavish Florida estate. However, his financial decisions weren't always sound. Untreated syphilis began to impair his judgment in later years, leading to both operational and personal mistakes. One intriguing mystery surrounding Capone's fortune is the claim by his grandniece, Deirdre Marie Capone, that he hid and buried vast sums of cash. Unfortunately, by the time he was released from Alcatraz, his health had declined so severely that he couldn't remember where he had hidden it. So, even as his wealth grew, his story ended with imprisonment, illness, and an empire that quickly dissolved without his leadership. Al Capone may have ruled Chicago during Prohibition, but his legacy is one of both legendary excess and tragic downfall, a cautionary tale of how quickly fortunes can change in the criminal world. Number 3. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, $5 billion. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman wasn't just a drug lord. He was a symbol of both fear and fascination. As the leader of the Sinaloa cartel, Guzman orchestrated a global drug empire that moved massive amounts of cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and marijuana into the United States and beyond. His cartel's operations were so extensive that Forbes included him on their self-made billionaires list in 2009, estimating his net worth at $1 billion. What set Guzman apart was his audacity. Twice he escaped from maximum security prisons in Mexico. His second escape in 2015 involved a mile-long tunnel outfitted with a motorcycle track, a feat that humiliated the Mexican government. His ability to evade capture and his knack for staying one step ahead of the law turned him into a folk hero for some in Mexico, even as his cartel left a trail of violence and destruction. El Chapo's life was as much a spectacle as it was a cautionary tale. In 2016, shortly after his second capture, actor Sean Penn conducted a controversial interview with him, bringing Guzman's personal life into the spotlight. Mexican authorities later claimed that this interview played a crucial role in his final capture. Despite decades of evasion, Guzman's luck ran out in 2019 after a high-profile trial in New York where he was convicted of 10 counts, including running a criminal enterprise. The verdict brought an end to his reign, and he is now serving a life sentence in a U.S. maximum security prison. Guzman's story highlights the staggering power and wealth that can come from organized crime, but also underscores its inevitable consequences: betrayal, imprisonment, and the destruction of countless lives. El Chapo may have tunneled his way to billions in global infamy, but his narrative ultimately serves as a grim reminder of crime's true cost. Number 2. Semon Mogilevich. $10 billion. Semon Mogilevich, often regarded as the most powerful and cunning criminal mastermind, is a figure shrouded in mystery and fear. Born in Ukraine in 1946, Mogilevich began his criminal career in the Soviet Union during the 1970s, aligning himself with the Lyubertskaya crime clan. After learning the ropes, he established his own syndicate, the Solntsevskaya Bratva, which became one of the most feared criminal organizations globally. Nicknamed the Brainy Don due to his sharp intellect and strategic approach, Mogilevich was unlike any other mobster, standing at 5 feet 6 inches and weighing around 300 pounds, his appearance as unassuming as it was deceptive. With an economics degree and an uncanny ability to manipulate people and systems, Mogilevich became known more as the Russian mob's banker than a traditional gangster. He is responsible for a vast network of criminal enterprises, from money laundering to arms smuggling, prostitution, and drug trafficking. His criminal genius came to the forefront in the 1990s when he created YBM Magnex International, a magnet manufacturing company based in Canada, but publicly traded in the United States. The company's stock price soared 2,000% thanks to falsified financial reports, bribes to auditors, and fraudulent claims, defrauding investors out of $150 million before the FBI and other international agencies caught wind of the scam. Despite multiple criminal charges, including racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering, Mogilevich remains untouchable, living openly in Moscow. His ability to evade capture is often attributed to his close ties with influential figures in Russian politics. Interpol and the FBI list him as one of the most wanted criminals globally, yet extradition from Russia is impossible due to the lack of an agreement with the U.S. Despite his alleged involvement in over 40 major crimes, including murder-for-hire plots and a $500 million money laundering operation through the Bank of New York, Mogilevich continues to operate in plain sight, protected by the Russian state. Semon Mogilevich may have built a global empire with cunning and intellect, but his story is a testament to how crime can intertwine with political power, creating a virtually untouchable figure. Number 1. Pablo Escobar, $30 billion. Pablo Escobar's rise from a humble upbringing in rural Colombia to becoming the most infamous criminal the world has ever seen is a tale of relentless ambition and terrifying ruthlessness. Born in 1949 in Rio Negro, Antioquia, Escobar began his criminal career as a petty thief, stealing tombstones to resell them. His early ventures hinted at the grander schemes he would later mastermind. In the 1970s, Escobar found his true calling in the cocaine trade, recognizing the booming demand for the drug in the United States. He co-founded the Medellin cartel, which quickly grew into a criminal empire of unprecedented scale. Escobar controlled every aspect of the cocaine supply chain, from cultivation in the Andes to distribution in American cities, with operations so sophisticated they involved private airstrips, submarines, and clandestine warehouses. By the 1980s, Escobar was supplying 80% of the cocaine in the U.S., earning an estimated $420 million weekly. His immense wealth afforded him luxuries few could dream of, including his lavish estate, Hacienda Nápoles, which featured a private zoo complete with exotic animals like hippos and giraffes. Forbes listed him among the world's richest men, with a fortune exceeding $30 billion. Yet his wealth also came with infamy. He bribed and intimidated his way to power, coining the chilling phrase plata o plomo, silver or lead, to signify the choice between accepting bribes or facing death. While he styled himself as a Robin Hood figure, building homes and sponsoring soccer fields for Medellin's poor, his reign was marked by violence. Escobar orchestrated countless assassinations, car bombings, and even the bombing of an Avianca flight that killed 107 people. His ruthless tactics eventually led to a full-scale war with the Colombian government, aided by U.S. forces. In 1991, Escobar negotiated a deal to surrender in exchange for a self-designed prison, La Catedral, which included luxury accommodations and even a nightclub. But when it became clear that Escobar was still running his empire from behind bars, the government attempted to move him to a traditional prison, leading to his escape, sparking one of the largest manhunts in history. On December 2, 1993, after months on the run, Escobar was cornered by Colombian authorities and killed during a rooftop chase in Medellin. Despite his death, Escobar's influence lingers. His story has been immortalized in books, documentaries, and TV shows like Narcos.